South Africa's political tensions are rising again, and this time the battle is not over policy alone, it is over truth. Because what started as a call for transparency has now exploded into a full-blown political clash between the Democratic Alliance and the Gauteng provincial government. At the center of this confrontation is Solim Simanga, who is now facing a sharp and direct pushback from Premier Panyaza Lesufi's administration. And the accusation is serious, that he is spreading claims that are not just incorrect, but deliberately misleading. This all began when Simanga demanded that the Gauteng government release signed performance agreements for members of the Executive Council, arguing that transparency and accountability required these documents to be made public. On the surface, the demand seemed straightforward: accountability, oversight, public access to government commitments. But the response from the provincial government has completely shifted the narrative. Because, according to the Gauteng government, those documents were never hidden. They were already released months ago. In fact, officials confirmed that the MEC performance agreements were made public as far back as October 16, 2025, through an official communication process. And that changes everything. Because if true, it raises a different question. Was this really about transparency, or was it about politics? The Gauteng government did not hold back. In a strongly worded response, it accused Msimanga and the Democratic Alliance of pushing what it described as a factually incorrect and misleading narrative. More than that, it suggested that this was not an honest oversight, but a deliberate political strategy, a strategy designed to create controversy where none exists. According to the government, if the DA failed to notice the publication of these agreements, that failure lies not with the state, but with the opposition itself. And this is where the situation becomes more intense, because the issue is no longer just about documents, it is about credibility. On one side, Msimanga maintains that transparency is still in question, suggesting that there may be information being withheld or that underperforming officials could be shielded from scrutiny. On the other side, the Gauteng government has dismissed these claims entirely, labeling them as baseless and politically motivated. It has gone further, accusing the DA of engaging in what it calls a fact-free propaganda and attempting to weaponize information for political gain. This is a serious escalation, because when political debate shifts from policy disagreements to accusations of misinformation, it signals a deeper level of conflict. And that conflict is not happening in isolation. It is unfolding at a critical moment in the Gauteng political environment. The province remains one of the most contested political battlegrounds in South Africa, with coalition dynamics, shifting alliances, and increasing competition. Every issue becomes amplified, every statement matters, and every narrative can influence public perception. At the center of this broader context is governance. Performance agreements for MECs are not just administrative documents. They are meant to outline targets, responsibilities, and measurable outcomes for government officials. In theory, they are a tool for accountability, a way for the public to assess whether leaders are delivering on their mandates. So when access to these documents becomes contested, it raises fundamental questions, not just about availability, but about trust. Trust in government transparency and trust in political opposition. Analysts say this clash reflects a wider trend in South African politics, where information itself becomes a battleground, where competing narratives shape public understanding, and where political actors use communication strategies as part of broader electoral positioning. For the Democratic Alliance, this issue fits into a larger strategy. The party has been positioning itself as a champion of accountability, particularly in provinces and municipalities where it does not hold power. By raising concerns about transparency, it seeks to highlight governance gaps and present itself as an alternative. But the risk is clear. If those claims are successfully challenged, it can damage credibility. For the Gauteng government, the response is equally strategic. By firmly rejecting the claims and presenting evidence of prior disclosure, it aims to reinforce its image as transparent and accountable. At the same time, it seeks to discredit opposition narratives. This creates a political standoff, one where both sides are not just defending their positions, but actively shaping public perception. And this matters because perception influences trust, and trust influences votes. Looking ahead, the timing of this conflict is critical. South Africa is moving towards the 2026 local government elections, a period where issues of governance, accountability, and service delivery will dominate political discourse. In this environment, clashes like this are likely to become more frequent, more intense, and more strategic, because every party is positioning itself not just to respond to issues, but to define them. For voters, however, the implications are more complex, because behind the political exchange lies a deeper question: who is telling the truth, and how can that truth be verified? In a system where information can be interpreted differently by different actors, the burden often falls on the public to navigate competing claims, and that is not always easy. What is clear is that this is not just a disagreement over documents, it is a reflection of a broader political dynamic, a dynamic where accountability, transparency, and credibility are constantly contested, and where the line between oversight and political strategy becomes increasingly blurred. As the situation develops, attention will remain on what comes next. Will further evidence be presented? Will independent verification settle the debate? Or will this remain another unresolved political clash? For now, the battle continues, not just over facts, but over narrative. And in modern politics, narrative can be just as powerful as reality.